Everybody. Okay, I'll start again. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the meeting today, the first community board meeting of the year. And yeah, thank you for attending. I know it's a different time, so it's perhaps a little bit harder and more difficult. But yeah, I'd like to first of all welcome Jess in for the youth of Golden Bay. Thank you for attending, and look forward to seeing more of you. I'll also ask for any are there any apologies? We already have noted Abby is zooming in today, so welcome Abby from a distance. Yep. And are there any other apologies and leave of absences? So I'd like to ask for the karakia. Would Councillor Hill like to lead us? Yeah.
Tēnā koutou katoa, mihi mahana kia koutou. Warm workings to everybody. Karakia tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te tonga, whakataka te hau ki te uru, kia makina ki uta, kia makaratara ki tai, hi ake ana te atakura, the teo, the huga, the houru, te hei mai te ora. Starts off by asking for the ceasing of the winds.
Thank you. That's a good start. Yes, so I'd like to now get back to the apologies and leaves of absences. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Hill, and seconder.
Sorry, with the apologies.
Only Abby who's away, and well, it's not really an apology. So,
no, so if there's no apologies,
then we don't really need to accept it. Okay. Public forum. Now we have public forum, and I'd just like to read this out that we have 30 minutes for public forum, and up to 6 speakers, allocated 5 minutes each. Speakers must be respectful, avoid repetition, criticism of elected members and of staff, and avoid speaking on matters subject to legal matters. So, and we are being recorded on Zoom, just for your information as well. So, we would like to ask Noel Bager, our first speaker today in public forum. Welcome, Noel.
Kia ora koutou, Chair Grant, Abby, board members and councillors. Just a couple of points today. I wonder if it might be possible for the agenda to go up a little bit earlier for the public. Like I checked it, 4 to 9, it still wasn't up. It's getting a bit late. I don't know whether it was possible to get it up earlier than just a couple of hours before the meeting.
It's my apologies for that. I thought I had put it up earlier, but I hadn't. And I discovered that morning when I got to work that it didn't go up on Friday.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
my
you.
apologies. No.
Okay, my little talk this afternoon is about the grandstand. And 7 years ago, February 2016 at the fire station, I remember making my very first presentation to this board. The members have all changed now, but what a ride it's been. And the pushback from many quarters was immense, and our community suffered a wee bit. The board witnessed unprecedented community action. And this was especially noticeable out at Collingwood, the Golden Bay Community Board meeting out there. Some of you may remember that. It was the first time I've ever been involved in any kind of protest, but certainly it made people sit up and take notice. The community became galvanised, and I believe these actually became a catalyst for council to actually begin to take notice of communities beyond Richmond and the flatlands. This board became the platform to keep the public informed and to help maintain pressure on the council throughout. So my reason for being here today is to thank the board for supporting the cause to start with the grandstand, and to remind people that heritage is important. As former chairman of the Grandstand Restoration Society and vice president of the AMP Association, I'd like to report that, in my view, social harmony has been restored, friendships rekindled, as demonstrated by the cutting of the ribbon of the reopening by the mayor, and one of the Save the Grampian Trust members. I thought that was important and it really showed that we're back where we should be. And this, in the hugely successful 125th Landfill show, was enthusiastically reported in both mainstream and social media. The relief was immense. So thank you to the board for putting us through that 7-year journey. It was quite strong. And my last point, as president of the Golden Bay RSA, I acknowledge, Abby, your recommendation for controlling the iron hungry in the Parkville road. So, note that. So, thank you all. Tēnā koutou.
Thank you very much, Noel. Next up, we have Andrew Lamison.
This is where we stand, is it not?
Wherever you want.
There you go. Yep. So, kia ora, just a couple of items we can consider around Port Totokawe. This year I had noticed a couple of occasions as you come around through that rock arch with pedestrians walking there, cars are veering out to get around them, and I saw a couple of near misses. And I was wondering if there a possibility for a corridor made taking some of that Port Totokawe reserve land, looking around behind those rocks, so not so much in that roadway. Everyone's sort of familiar with what I'm talking about? Yeah, there's a barrier around there, and if you happen to be a walker, there's very little space there as well. But yeah, I'm worried about it on there. The land here is it's a real shambles through the southern going back across each other. So if that could be considered, that would be nice. Currently, the land within the port seems to be used mainly for that Gerrit boat and a whole pile of that old wharf timbers. So something's got to be carved around there, considered. It would be a good outcome. And the other one is around the port lights. I noticed that they are on through all hours of darkness, and I think there could be consideration for them to be activated only when they're required. There is a movement around trying to preserve the darkness. Impacts for wildlife. There's also just general aesthetics going on, and the wastefulness of it. I've noticed them being on for several days when I know there's no boats in and out. It's even additionally it's so rough that no one's operating, and the lights are still blaring away, and they're visible for long. But if you go to the golf course, that sort of area, it's just lights. So for consideration,
Thank you very much, Andrew. Paul Sangster, welcome home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My first one was about the drainage in Riley Street, but I understand from Workman, Robert Workman, that he's onto the case and he's going to let the board know by the next meeting in March. So we'll leave that as. And the other one is just on the outstanding natural features and landscapes. I came here, and I think it was about June last year, and I asked about the reply or some feedback from the submissions. And we were all asked to put in submissions for the outstanding landscapes, and that was done. And to date, I still haven't received even a yes, we got your submission. There's been no correspondence back from council at all. They would have spent quite a lot of money with the consultations and various advertising and making for the submissions, and no reply seems strange. What got me a little bit was that the next day after this meeting that I've been at, I was working with a young man, and he told me that Councillor Hill and a staff member had been the day before. And I said, but that was community board day. And he said, yes, they'd been on his property trying to get him to voluntarily put his property into an R&L or an outstanding natural feature or an outstanding natural landscape. And so it surprised me that a year on from our submissions, with no reply from council, that in fact they were still doing something. And so what are my questions are, can we have a reply to say that yes, we got our submissions? Could we have an answer of what they're actually going to do? Because those submissions are now virtually null and void after a year. Are they going to then go back to the community and ask them to do submissions once again? And some of these firms have paid quite a lot of money to get them submissions done. The other thing is that I would like to know if there is areas being put voluntarily into RNLs or ONLs that we could actually be informed, because that affects our community for its whole planning. And if we, someone wants to do something and that we find that it's being put into a outstanding natural feature, or it is close to a natural feature, then of course the planning and anything for our community is affected. So if those could be answered, it would be really nice. And I really think council should be keeping the public informed if they're doing something. I understood through the grapevine that council voted sometime after the submissions that they weren't going to continue with it at this stage. Yet, as I said, the information that I got the day after the meeting was that they were still continuing. So I just find it confusing and rather annoying to think that we just kept in the dark with it. So if that could be done, that would be lovely.
Thank you, Paul. Peter Bromley.
Hi, board members and councillors. Thank you, Andrew, for raising the board lights. That's what I was actually going to speak to about today. I actually raised this with the Service Centre back in September and got an email reply from Council Officer named Chin. And I've tried contacting him again multiple times and have no reply. So his information to me was that they'd replaced the lights because they were severely degraded. And that they understood that glare was an issue and they were working to address the glare. But that was in September, and said that something happened next month. It's now February, and I'm concerned firstly that no consultation was given to the public about the impact of those lights on quiet enjoyment of the natural landscape, especially in the winter, night walking on the beaches, something we really value. And it's almost impossible to enjoy walking back eastward along the beach. I'm pretty sure I've seen it done elsewhere in New Zealand and elsewhere overseas, that woods or other measures to mitigate the glare from those lights would actually be really effective, whether or not they chose to leave the lights on 7 or not. Related to that is the porch light at Bahara Hall. Since we moved here, we found that light is something that has been a constant problem with glare as we walk along the eastern end of the Bahara Beach. I asked about that at the Service Centre at the same time and was told that that light is on a timer. It's clearly not on a timer. And I feel that it would be appropriate to upgrade it to a more suitable light. It's just an on-strip light. And put it on either a motion timer or a use timer, perhaps when we're using the board. It doesn't seem sensible to me to have that light on continuously. Maybe there's issues with security, but having it unguarded and facing the beach is, it's quite unpleasant. So those are the things I wanted to raise. I really appreciate that Andrew has already raised it. I spoke to a number of people already who are resident of the Oxford Ward, and they're fed up with those lights. I encourage them to come down for themselves, but I don't know if they've done so. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. Dave Mail.
Thank you. Kia ora. Yes, I'm Dave Ryan. It's not a particularly long road in comparison to other initiatives in Golden Bay, but we're creating a men's shed because it's called Mobile Men's Shed. And just 2 GB weeklies ago, you may have noticed an advertisement in there, put in there by TDC, essentially not only asking for objections, but also letters of support for a men's shed up at the recreation park over by the new subdivision. Oh, look what we've got there. There we go. So, oh, that's
The yellow one.
the yellow one. That's right. Thank you. And so we've been speaking with people like the Rata Foundation and lotteries, and they're groups that are willing to stump up over $100,000 each. Now we're looking at the project. We're looking at about a $250,000 project. But the thing is, it's not going to be just a men's shed. There's a proposal for a women's shed, looking at people like the work centre sending students along, homeschoolers sending children along, a reintroduction of what we used to call the evening classes down at the high school, where people made things. That will more likely happen more in the daytime though. So we're looking at, it's a multi-purpose facility. And so what we're asking for is, and I'll leave some of these here, if people would like to pick one up and would really like a letter of support from individuals or groups to Richard Collier at TDC. Thank you very much. Do you have any, they've asked me any questions? Well, there you go. That was easy.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm the chair, and this is the vice chair.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, that brings us to the end of public forum today. And thank you very much for participating. We'll move on to any declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest from the members?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then,
I did forward one to you, Jeff, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
okay.
Yes. So you need to declare that.
You need to-
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the items on the agenda is discussing Cape Fear Horse Track. And I'm disclosing that I'm their accountant.
Okay.
It is an interest, but to be honest, it's not a material interest to me. It doesn't make any business a difference to my business, but I'm just disclosing.
It's good just to put it down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one of the public speakers was the men's shed.
Yeah.
I'm actually their accountant as well. Pro bono.
So anyone who comes in here, you're the accountant for. That's
Yeah.
that's good. That's good to know.
I know that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might really need to put that sort of, yeah, standard. Okay, so you know, do we need to pass that?
That's one.
The declarations of interest?
No, it's just not.
It's just noted. Okay, confirmation of the minutes for Tuesday, the 8th of November, and well, we'll do that one first because we didn't have confirmation of the minutes from the Tuesday, the 8th. So who was, we can do them together, okay, and Monday, the 12th. So can we have a, Celia, you'd like to, you can confirm those? Can we have a seconder? Those meetings. Henry? All in favour? Aye. And against? Carried. Right. Are there any late items? No. Nothing. All right. We now have a presentation at from Golden Bay Forest and Bird. It's an update on their 100th, I believe.
Good afternoon, everyone. As acting chair of the Golden Bay branch of Forest and Bird, and on behalf of our committee, I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to make the presentation. I wanted to give you some background on Forest and Bird because there may be people around the table who don't know very much about our organisation. So the Royal Forest and Bird Protection Society in New Zealand was formed nearly 100 years ago in 1923. And it was formed out of the strong concerns of a community of people within our country, including well-known and respected scientists at the time. The huge degradation of the natural environment, including the large-scale felling of native forests and the decline in bird species, were our primary concern, hence the name World Forest and Bird Protection Society. We now tend to call ourselves Forest and Bird. So our mission remains the same, to protect the Indigenous biodiversity and natural features in New Zealand. Forest and Bird are New Zealand's largest and long-standing and most widely recognised conservation organisation in the country. We have 45 branches across New Zealand with over 100,000 members, supporters and volunteers. The Golden Bay branch became independent of the Nelson Tasman branch in 2001. We have a membership of 80 people and our members participate in a number of projects around Golden Bay. We've been the springboard for establishing other conservation groups in Golden Bay. Friends of the Mungaraka Swamp, Friends of Golden Bay, the Mohua Blue Penguin Trust, the Oxbow Restoration, the Mohua Marine Trust, and more recently, the Taupota Gravel Reserve Shorebird Protection Site. We have a close relationship with local iwi, Mana Whenua Ki Maura, the Tākaka Office of the Department of Conservation, and we're supported by well-known local ornithologists David Melville and Rob Shucker, and along with that, Keith Woodley, New Zealand's bar-tailed godwit. Next month, Forest and Bird will celebrate 100 years of conservation work in New Zealand, and we will be holding a 12-month birthday celebration. The Golden Bay branch is planning a series of fun and family-friendly events for our community, and that is what I'm here to talk to you about. Our school children will be invited to take part in art and play activities that will focus on our Indigenous biodiversity. We'll be inviting speakers to come to Golden Bay to present on subjects that are of particular relevance to our community. One of the community events we would like to create in partnership with Tasman District Council is a memorial forest. This would allow members of our community to celebrate or remember an important person or aspect of their lives in an environmentally positive way by planting a tree that will tell their story. So we're asking the Golden Bay Community Board today if they would like to put forward suggestions for the location of the memorial forest. Now, I have had discussions with Richard Elliott, Richmond, and he has said to me that the teams are fully behind. So what I'd like is, locally to get some feedback about where we might be able to do it. So nature is facing the twin challenges of climate change and biodiversity loss. And Forest and Bird look forward to continuing to work with the community group to ensure nature thrives in Golden Bay. Geez, I'm 50 now. Thank you. So does anyone have any questions about it?
Yes, Celia?
So with how you envisage this forest, is this envisaged so that Forest and Bird would plant the forest and people can add trees, or is it a forest where people, individuals go and plant trees for their own reason?
Individuals would plant every tree. We would probably give a recommendation of native trees that they could choose from. And I imagine we would prepare the holes, people come along and bring their spade, do their own hole. So what we would do, we'd prepare it for them and they could come along. How the tree is recognised is probably a really important aspect of this, because the ground has to be maintained around those trees. So we're thinking numbers for the trees and that's a board when you enter the site. So, you know, number one might be something. We'll know, you know, that that's the tree you go to. And a good example is I've got a brand new great grandson. So I definitely want to plant a tree.
Is this sort of like a natural burial kind of scenario? Would it include that?
It's possible that people who have ashes.
Right, but so by the,
To bury them.
Yeah.
Under a tree, and Richard Hellyer was there is quite a demand for that. There are people ringing the council.
yeah, so there's a bit of
Asking what they can
a
do.
movement to establish a natural burial place in Golden Bay where people would be buried with the tree.
There is already. So,
No, there isn't, but there's a movement of people who are interested in it.
Councillor Hill.
There's a difference between putting the ashes on the tree and a natural burial. So
There is. Well, I'm just wondering if this is a potential for a combination or a crossover, or if it would be two. Like I know a number of people who are keen for a natural burial place. Is this something quite separate, or?
I'm not sure what the rules and regulations would be around that, but I imagine they could be quite strict.
Yeah, I think they are quite strict.
So what we're looking at is really a legacy of forest. Forest
Yeah.
A beautiful native forest. And for people to be able to have a part in that.
Have you been to Mana Whenua and talked to them about the idea, especially with maybe putting ashes there, because that's something that's quite.
We were waiting on a presentation.
Okay.
The administrator put it on, and we're not accepting any more presentation. We just have to be patient and wait.
No, it's just board. Thank you. Yeah.
So can
Councillor Hill.
just to finish my point. So
Yeah.
the cemetery has a natural burial area. You're not about anything. Watertight.
Yeah. But does that allow for planting of trees on?
It allows for planting or something. So I'm not sure about what the limitation is,
Right.
whether we can put a forest tree on there or not.
Yeah.
Burials.
Yeah.
I think the legislation that generates cemeteries and upa and burial areas is.
Yeah, it is.
The,
I was just curious whether it
yeah.
was a similar, a good concept that would encompass something like that,
Yeah.
or just sort of more of a memorial kind of
Yeah.
scenario. Yeah.
It would, you'd then be going down the road of setting up a cemetery.
Yeah.
Essentially, and ashes is another business, because you can go and sneak your ashes anywhere you like.
Yeah.
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 I was going to say exactly the
Oh,
same thing,
right.
but under the operating procedures for the natural burial area, plantings of natives are encouraged
Right.
at set times of the year. So we're leading into that planting period now,
Right.
leading into autumn, but
Yeah.
encouraging the planting of native
Yeah.
plants to allow that regeneration.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess what do you actually need from us now that we've had a wee discussion? Do you?
What I'd like the board to do is to see if they can identify a place where we might be able to do this. And that would be on publicly owned land. It certainly would not be on private land. So, you know, I just want to involve the board.
Yeah, that's good.
And you may have ideas. And perhaps you can come back with a recommendation.
Councillor Hill.
What sort of an area you're imagining? Maybe you said an area and I didn't catch it, but what sort of size?
I didn't actually stipulate a size, but I wouldn't have thought, you know, maybe a couple of hectares or, gosh, that's huge. Well, a hectare. I'm only thinking of Bird Island because I know that it's 2.2 hectares. And that's the only measure of land that I've got. Not in my property.
The
Maybe half a hectare.
the area leading into the historic Clifton Cemetery there's an idea of something similar happening there that, the Vine. Oh, Chris Rouse came and he might have spoken to the board, but I'm not sure he came and spoke to Mark Taylor about it a few years ago now. So the idea was similar, that people could put ashes under a tree, plant a tree like a memorial sort of thing. So he had an idea of that area of land as you just start down towards the golf course, but then you can go down to the cemetery, that sort of area through there. So that's being logged. I don't know whose land it is.
I don't know how far it got either.
No,
We could
Actually,
have a discussion.
Um,
We could have.
Yeah.
come.
I think we need to have a discussion at some time. Maybe we put it on the next year report to talk about and maybe do some research.
Well, we could ask, we could ask staff for areas of land that might be available to be considered, because that'll be, someone will bring up a map and there'll be 100 of those, various sizes. So that might be
Yeah.
something just to get. Or I guess maybe the first thing is we discuss as a board whether it's something we support,
Yeah.
and the use of council land for that.
Well, we've got a wonderful piece of land at Rototai dump site, old Rototai dump site. I don't know how appropriate that would be, but, you know, maybe not. But,
It's good enough for Marai around the country. It's probably good enough for forest.
yeah, it would actually
And
help heal it
so
perhaps.
We would like to do the
Marai is
planting
able to build on.
within our celebration time, which starts on the 23rd of March
And that's going for the rest of the year pretty much.
for 12 months.
Yep, okay. Just a question which is slightly aside to this, but within that ballpark. You mentioned a few years ago of doing a bird festival. Is that going to be part of this program, do you think?
Well, there will be certainly bird event.
Yeah.
And this is actually a really good replacement.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're probably looking at a tri-monthly event.
Yep.
So that we've got time to prepare for the one.
Yeah. Okay. I'm quite excited about that actually.
Yeah.
Celebrating
Well,
forests and
going to
birds.
involve our, a whole.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions? That brings us to the end of the presentations. Thank you. Thank you very much, Cynthia. We move now on to the chair's report. And the first item in the chair's report is Golden Bay Memorial Reserve. Golden Bay RSA requested that the Taki District Council allow the use of herbicides in the Memorial Park to control the Onehunga weed. And we have a response, so imagine we've all, I don't need to read it out, we've probably all read it from Lynn Hall. So it's really up to us to come back and say whether we approve of that recommendation by Lynn Hall. There it is, Councillor Butler.
I've got a question, Chair. We've not been given any indication of what type of spray they would be using. And I know that there is a special spray for Onehunga weed. And my experience of it is that it doesn't always work. It's quite a benign spray. It's not organic, but it's quite benign. It doesn't always work. So I don't know whether that is the spray that they would use, or whether that be something that is more toxic. So I'd be wanting to know exactly what the council's regime for spraying Onehunga weed is, given open slather.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good point. Councillor Earl.
I'm supportive, and I'm happy it's an operational matter, and I'm really happy for those staff to, they'll work all that out. We've got people who sort these things out, and I'm happy for them just to go ahead and get on with it, I think.
I guess it really comes back to us whether we have to accept, we have to change that policy, or what we've obviously voted on in the past as a community board to allow that to happen, because they can't, operations won't do
Yeah,
that.
I supported allowing it, and then all the details about what they use and how they do it,
That's,
you know,
yeah, did you have?
it's an operation thing.
It was just the thought about discussion we're having. I support the proposal. But I was wondering, there was some discussion about, I'm going to use the word reinstating the lawns. You know, because of the damage that's been done over the time period to get them back up to scratch. Because at the moment, the proposal is talking about we could spray it and in February, but then the lawns won't really looking any good. Well, for Anzac Day, but I don't know whether. I just remember that being part of the discussion as well, but it's not mentioned in the, I just realised in the minutes or in the response, but I'm supportive of this proposal, but I'm wondering if they're going to take any other steps.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Councillor,
Just through the chair, that, just to go back to my former point, there could be, and I agree, it's an operational matter, but it will, community will have a view, because they could actually spray the whole lot and like kill the whole lot and then say, right, we're going to reseed it. Or else they could use selective spray that selects just the only hunger weed, in which case you'd end up still with presumably grass there, but with patches of dead patches with the only hunger weed. So I think it is quite important to know what their, you know, how this will affect.
Yes, we've got to-
Whether it's going to kill everything, replant, or whether it's just going to be selective for only hunger weed.
and we have a time constraint, obviously, because February is the day, the month we do it. So, you know, it's moving on through February now.
And
So,
we have Anzac Day.
yeah, exactly. So, is that enough information?
So we
to-
can, I'm sorry to labour the point, but I'd just like to get a comment from staff as to whether it's from Court and Hogan, probably do it, to find out what actually what the ratio would be.
Councillor,
I think it's just for me, in my mind, this is we're a governance board. We've made a decision in the past, the board, to say we don't want sprays used in town. We're doing something to say in this case, can we please look after that? But dirt. And I imagine that they'll just work in with the RSA around the timing of any restoration, any spraying, whatever they do. That's just operational stuff that our reserves team are and who the contractors are teamed up to. So more probably in my mind is to call to Lynn or somebody, or maybe through your role with liaison to RSA, it's just a connection in about be mindful of Anzac Day and in terms of how it's done. But in terms of the governance role here, we certainly just agreeing or not to whether herbicides can be used in this case.
do we do this as a blanket sort of okay, only hunger weed pops up next on the village green or next on the little memorial at the end, the little triangle at the end of town? Do we make some sort of comment about only hunger weed being the one that we make an exception for? Or how do you think we should do that? Just-
3.3 in the report says, I propose that the board recommend non-organic herbicides be used in town to enable the control of the. So it's very specific.
Yeah.
Right, Abby has a hand.
Oh, right. I can see. Anyway,
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, the question is, do we allow herbicides to be used in town to control only hunger weed? I totally agree with Chris. What they decide to use is an operational matter. We can only direct yes or no. And I'd really like to see the only hunger weed dealt with in town.
okay, so would you do we pass this at the end of the do we look at this at the end of the council?
You've got a resolution.
Yeah, at the end.
And
It is at the end, isn't it?
yeah, so it might be that when we can pass a resolution, just each one as we go along, or we can go through the report and discuss each matter. And if someone's willing, anyone can move at any time, one or all of those resolutions. So
Do we want to
we
do
could discuss them and just through the report, and then at some point someone will pass a resolution. I think how we're going is good.
do we do? Yeah, we can just do the whole lot at the end if you like, and go through the resolutions. So, is there any more discussion on that?
Well, I can't support the resolution because I need more information and I need to know what the implications are of actually passing this resolution from the point of view of the actual regime spray. So
Right. Shall we work on that resolution now? Then that's okay.
Yeah, sorry, Grant, can
Mhm.
I just jump in and ask Celia if that is the case for all sprays within the bay? Or is it just she's just concerned with town? We are opening ourselves up to a whole lot of work and information if we're going to be requesting the type of sprays and the effects that they have throughout the bay.
through the chair, this was brought up in relation to the memorial park, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where the where Anzac Day is held. So it was in relation to that, but I appreciate that the policy applies to council lawn areas in the Golden Bay Township. For me, it does apply to all the council lawn areas in the Golden Bay Township in relation to Onehunga weed. For me, I think that there's a huge difference between actually a very strong residual spray being used, which actually kills all the grass as well, and a lesser toxic spray that just kills the Onehunga weed. And from the point of view of our community, I think that if we change the policy and then there's just a complete blanket kill off of all our council grass because of Onehunga weed, then I think that we'd get a bit of pushback from the community. That's my feeling. I just feel I want to represent, the people who are concerned, because this whole policy came into being because of people not liking toxic sprays in the township. So, yeah.
I wonder if they fenced it off when they do it, though. It's operational. And
It is operational, I agree, but the reason for the policy originally was because of operational decisions about what sprays were used.
I just assume it'll be a spray for the honeyweed. I don't imagine all the lawns are.
Well, we don't know that. Yeah, because
Good
as I
point, we
say,
don't know, but can we ask for more information?
yeah,
I think that's.
that would,
I mean,
that's what I would like.
But unfortunately, we are going to miss the deadline of the February deadline. That's the problem I see. Did you?
Well, is this something we can it seems like it would be a 5-minute phone call, and then they could give us an answer. And we could, we could say, just support it, on the proviso that it's sort of done within reason, just to control the Onehunga weed, and not sort of open slather to spray everything. But I mean, I imagine.
That would be my guess of what they're going to do anyway. But it is a good point that it could be open.
The wording is to enable control of that weed.
Yeah.
Specifically that weed. So
I was just looking for Lynn Hall's phone number on my phone, but I haven't got it. But I'm just going to go and ring her.
Would you like her to call her from here and we can see if we
Yeah,
can?
thank you.
thank you. That would be great. Yeah, because there is a good point between this, and we have made that policy for a reason, which I think is, the community want that control of toxic substances not being here. So I think we have to make sure it's balanced argument here. Onehunga weed is obviously difficult, and
And perhaps, I'm not sure, but perhaps we could, to meet the February deadline, the memorial lawn, we could allow for that, and then we can perhaps revisit it next month's agenda to go into more detail. Perhaps.
it was just April, so yeah, I suppose.
If we're concerned about wider use around the place.
And we could be specific with just the memorial.
Well, yeah,
But then we'd have to get visited again if it comes up somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, well, and undoubtedly will, so it would be good to have a sort of a policy.
Then there might be-
position.
There might be other weeds that are also uncontrollable by organic means, and where we sort of start and stop these policies.
I think the Onehunga weed is different because it's got the little prickles.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, and I also bear in mind what the chair of RSA said when he made his presentation was that the quality of that particular area of grass has never been good at that memorial park.
Yeah, I can't remember whether it was a ready lawn that they put in or they sowed it. I remember the village green was a ready lawn that they laid. This one I can't remember. Does anyone remember whether it was a high quality ready lawn or not?
I think we're over labouring this,
Yeah,
and we
right.
just need to make a decision about someone willing to put the resolution. I haven't heard your position, Grant, about it or yours, Henry. Because that would make a difference about whether what
I
resolutions.
tend to sway towards getting rid of the Onehunga weed. So and so I'm okay with operations doing that. So that's my feeling.
Lynn's just joining us now.
Right.
Hi, Lynn, can you hear us? Abby, have you got another
She's
question
muted.
first?
She's muted.
Have you got another question? Your hand's still up.
Is it better?
Lynn,
Much better.
yeah, we're discussing the Onehunga weed in the memorial garden, memorial lawn, and we'd like to know a little bit more information about what sort of sprays they actually used on it. So, and how does it kill everything? Does it just kill the Onehunga weed? Yeah.
Right. I can't recall the spray off the top of my head, but it's a fairly nasty one. It will probably take grass and everything out where it is sprayed. My feeling is that perhaps come springtime, autumn, that we do a complete renovation of that lawn so that we look to just spray the whole thing out and start again, resow it. But I do have on my notes to contact the turf specialist in Nulmac to discuss whether that's the right approach or whether we just target the Onehunga weed. So, yeah, just off the top of my head, I can't tell you what spray it is, but it's a fairly hefty one.
So Lynn, just to clarify, Chris Hill here. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
So there isn't a spray that just targets Onehunga weed.
Yes, well, it predominantly targets Onehunga. It really is broadleaf weeds, but there's very few sprays that will actually target the Onehunga. It will take out probably the grass and whatever's around it, so we will have some bare patches.
So in terms of the restoration, you would spray the whole thing out with some organic spray then?
In terms of restoration, I think we'd still have to use like a broadleaf spray, not just organic, just to hit the broadleaf weeds in there.
So in terms of the resolution in front of us today around allowing the use of inorganic sprays in Tāpeka Township, we'd need to approve that today to allow the restoration.
Yes, I guess I would like to speak with Noel Bagent, just so he understands that whatever we do there, even if it is just the Onehunga, will have an impact on the lawn. So we currently do use it at, for instance, Liger Bay, you know, because nobody really likes a foot full of prickles. But it has to be repeated. It's not a one hit, spray that you spray it once and that's it. You've got to keep going back.
So okay, so to restore it, then it's going to take quite some time, isn't it?
Yes, if we time it right. So if you completely blitz it, sort of autumn, and I guess we'd have to look at whatever we do around Anzac Day, because that's quite an important day for that lawn there. But I think that would give us time to blitz it, and I think the weather would still be okay to get a cover on it. As said, I do need to discuss it with the turf expert from NELMAC.
Robert, did you have a question? No, yeah. All right. Councillor Hill.
Just to follow up about the restoration, if we don't pass this resolution today, allowing inorganic spraying in Tākega, how would you go about restoring that lawn?
Well, we really can't. That's the issue. So there's nothing that we can use to target the onehunga that's going to be acceptable to the previous resolution. And I'm presuming there was a previous resolution for no chemical sprays to be used in the township.
Yeah.
So just because of the nature of onehunga, we have to use a tougher spray. So if we don't go through the complete lawn renovation, because there's other weeds, there's daisies and so forth in there. So my thinking is that we just blitz the whole thing and start again. But the other option is that we just use the particular herbicide that targets the onehunga on the onehunga, and we'll just have some patches, which we'll just put a bit of topsoil and resow again. So that is probably, I guess, a more acceptable option rather than do a complete renovation.
Maybe okay. Maybe we could help. Eddie.
Yeah, thanks for that, Lynn. My feeling is that Noel obviously came to us and asked for the ability to remove the onehunga weed, and I'm assuming, Lynn, that, and you've already said that you would talk to him before carrying out any program, so they would be best placed to decide what to use. So having said that, I am happy to move the resolution that we allow herbicides to be used in town to help control the onehunga weed.
Okay, that's probably the right thing, but whether, for instance, the village green, it would ever be acceptable, I don't know. Certainly, I think the memorial lawn there, it just seems to be really the only option we've got, just because of the amount of onehunga weed there.
Sorry.
Oh, can I just clarify with Abby that Abby's moving number 2 of the resolution or the whole resolution?
Sorry, I'm having real tech issues. I haven't got the. Hang on, give me a second. I'll just flick into my agenda. Sorry.
They request the use of the non-organic herbicides to be allowed on council lawn areas in Golden Bay Township to enable control of onehunga weed. That's just number 2.
Yes, thanks, Grant. That's the one.
Yeah. Okay. So I have that.
I'm happy, Lynn, it's Celia Butler here. I'm happy to support the resolution, knowing that there will be a discussion with Noel Bagent of the RSA about what the best method would be for removal of the onehunga weed.
I'm happy to second the resolution.
Right. Okay. Shall we vote now then? All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Yes. Okay. Carried. Thank you. Okay, that's going to happen. That's great. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate all that. That's good to have a bit more information.
Okay, thank you.
Bicycle stands now. And then item 4 on the
keep them here for bicycles.
Bicycle down, good idea. Yes, do you want to just hang around for a little bit longer?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay, so we just received requests in December about the installation of bike stands at beach reserves in Eastern Golden Bay. And it was passed on to Parks and Reserve staff who have identified a total of 7 previously used bike stands, which are currently held in storage. So where staff is suggesting a placement of 4 stands in Selwyn Street, Pahara, 3 in Liger Bay, with the option to explore an alternative solution for Tata Beach. So staff are welcoming any suggestions from the board. So that's all 7 of them. Councillor Hill.
Through you, Chair, I'm assuming, Lynn, that these bike stands are up for seaside instalment.
Stainless steel.
Yep, through the chair, yes, I understand that they're stainless steel. So they're, I don't know if you've got the diagram of them or the photos of them, but they're individual sort of circular contraptions, which, yeah, because we've already got them, I thought we could pop some at Selwyn Street and some at Liger, but whether we use the same at Tata, if I can source them, or whether we use look to a different alternative. So I guess, you know, you need to decide if you're happy with that style of bike rack, and if so, where you think that they should actually go.
Well, when you say 7 of them, and I saw the photo of about 3 stands altogether, is that what you mean? There's 7
Yeah,
of those
yeah.
on their own? So,
Yeah. So 7 of
6.
7 separate stands. So each circle is a separate stand, so they have to be installed separately.
Do we need some at Tata Beach? That was also asked in the original question. And what is the point? I mean, is that going to be enough? That's what I'm saying. That's what
I'm just going to take the leap at Councillor Hill's book and say that this is, I think this is operational, and where they go, I'm happy to leave it to actually to Parks and Reserves.
Yep. Okay. Are they? Yeah.
I was thinking along the same lines myself, actually, and then as I had a bit of a think about it, I think Lynn, staff will naturally just sort of spread them out where they think it's sort of sensible to go. There could be one as you come into Tata there with a rampish area. Could be one down the other end by that picnic table. You know, like I think of the natural sort of places that they might go. That I'm not attached to where they are, but there'll be some logic to it, and no doubt wherever you put them, there'll be some complaint about what a silly idea that was.
True. And Abby?
Yeah, totally agree with Celia and Chris. I'm just very happy to have them, Lynn, and happy to be guided by staff as to the best place.
Okay. I personally think it's a good start, but might be more needed in the future. So I think it's a good start. Yeah, because we've got Liger Bay as well. So
You got some ideas, Jess, about that?
yeah.
Well. No, I was just thinking just then as you said that, if we've only got 7 of the one type, would it be a better idea if we were going to get more in the future to put them all in one spot, so you won't have to be married to the same design for everything? Just a thought.
Yeah, so therefore are they a standard one that you can rebuy quite easily or repurchase easily? Yeah. No, she's still there.
I haven't done that research, but I would imagine that they're probably the makers are still making that particular model. It was one that I think's been used at Rabbit Island or some other reserve that they've pulled out and replaced with something else or done a different design. So I imagine that we can probably get the same.
So I'm happy to go with Celia's recommendation that we go with staff operations to run the to put the bike stands where they see fit.
And bearing in mind the youth, the perspective of a youth member that, you know, you might want to think about the future adding more.
Because in Tākeka there's no, in other areas we've got a lot of bike stands that have plugins for electric bikes. A lot of these electric bikes are worth somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000, and they really want security with them. And I've been asked by public, you know, what are we going to do about that? And is there a place to plug them in if needed? So, you know, I think the future with electric bikes coming online so strongly, we have to consider that as well.
There's a move.
Happy to move? Someone second that?
I'll second it.
All in favour?
Well,
Yes.
sorry, I do note it says insert suggested locations here.
I think we can probably
One
put that back to council to change that resolution a little bit.
Does Abby
Just to
have an
say,
additional question?
No, sorry, I just forgot to put my hand down. Sorry, team.
So
to
just let
start.
me share that. But it was specifically for this one here.
That
So
motion.
reword it like that.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm happy to have that reworded. That's
One
good.
moment, let me share that with Abby so that she see that. Sorry.
Right, to the resolution number 4, which is defer to staff to determine locations for installation of bike stands at both Pohara, Liger Bay and Tata Beaches. That was the motion that Celia has put. Second.
I take it the
Robert Houston, sorry. And all in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay, moving on, thank you.
Thank you.
Riley Street, Claire Webster's proposal. Can we just, do we need to just send anything to, I think it's really more for our information, for our information really about what's going on there. It's probably dealt with, is it? Yeah. Okay. Camellia tree on the village green. Again, I think that's already been dealt with, and doesn't actually say what they're planting. Is that a secret, or it's been approved? Lynn?
Through the chair, they came to me with a wish list of 3 species, and at the top of their wish list was a catalpa, which I have managed to source a good specimen of. But when I spoke with the nursery had concerns that it's quite a soft wooded tree, and that it would probably encounter the same sorts of issues as the Amelia trees. So I've gone back to them with that, and now they're having another think, and I'll have a look at another nursery with big trees and see if there's anything else that might be appropriate for there.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, we've got a wee bit of time.
yeah.
Thank you for that. All right. Item number 7, Collingwood Disabled Parks, done, installed. The Waka Kahati relationship. We're still waiting for the response regarding the developing improved board communication with them. How do we Have we written, yeah, Sue, Yeah.
I just don't recall on what basis we were wanting improved
Yeah.
board communication. Was there a particular issue? Because improved communication doesn't mean anything by itself, but I don't.
Yeah, it was in relation to speed limit
Mm.
proposals and other bits and
Oh,
pieces that
that's
sort of thrust,
Right.
thrust on the board to respond to without actually seeding in some of the things that we've been discussing. So the point was, could that improvement, so what could take again advance notice?
Abby's gonna do that for us.
Right, I better say.
Abby will remember.
Ellie?
Yeah, no, Kim's absolutely right. We talked about going straight to Whakatahi, straight to Emma Spate, and decided that it would be more polite and prudent to go through Jamie and his team. So we're still working on that.
Work in action. Right. Rene Hayata Road Lane reduction, the new layout before Christmas. We're just waiting to hear that report with the assessment from Stantec. That's really just for our information. Gravel management, waiting again for a staff response regarding to the outcomes of the meeting with the affected landowners. Now, was that the Takaka River or was that the Aorere River?
Well,
There was all the rivers.
All the rivers, thank you. And we do have a, I believe, who are they called? Someone. River Care, going to be coming to us in maybe March, I believe, to talk to the board. So we'll wait for that.
In relation to
Yeah.
gravel, because we had a presentation, didn't we, from Dave Stevenson about gravel already.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think River Care will be coming to the Bay in March to do their thing that they do every year and have the public meetings.
who are they?
Right, so,
River Care.
It's not council.
yes,
Yeah, it
yes, Giles Griffiths.
Oh, yeah.
Has done it in the past, so
Yeah.
this is not to the board,
No,
it's actually a public
public.
meeting.
Yeah.
For interested parties,
Data
particularly
bits,
farmers
yes.
who live beside the rivers.
Yeah.
But the board can be there.
So we just need to find out those dates. They'll probably advertise them quite well when you're home. Okay. On to rubbish. Yeah, it was pretty good. The rubbish bins and Takaka were looking a lot better this year. I think that's got something to do with the fact that we didn't have to only have takeaways from the fast food places, from the cafes and restaurants. Made a big difference. And I think after the debacle last year, I think there was a bit more awareness around it by the people emptying them, so they were a little bit more into it. So that's good. Just keeping an eye on it. Were there any other problems around the bay with rubbish anyone saw over that holiday period?
No, but a little bugbear of mine is residents and batch owners at Tata Beach that pop their rubbish in the council bins there. I'm
Yep.
down there every day and someone's always tootling along with their little sort of little scurry and looking each side and it's their household rubbish they're going in each day. And I wonder if it's quite nice maybe just to drop a wee note into some of those letter boxes to say, look, please don't do that. Ratepayer shouldn't have to pay for Tata Beach folk to get rid of their rubbish.
Yeah.
Not everyone down there will be doing it, of course, but gee, you really can see the people when they're leaving their batches for the weekend on Sunday night. Then they have a swim and the bags go to the bins at the ramp. We don't want them to be full of that and not available for those who want to put their litter in and their ice cream that they've bought from Golden Bay Kayaks.
or their takeaway packages that they bought their Thai food from that they've gone to the beach to eat, or their fish and chip wrappers they've gone down to the beach to wrap. So it's it's really for that, isn't it? So yeah, not for cleaning out your batch. The Coke bottles.
Through the chair, I'm aware from my position on Golden Bay Promotions that Golden Bay Promotions are having difficulty with the rubbish and recycling containers, which are right outside their door. And they say that a lot of this goes on with people from the community
Yeah.
just come and put their rubbish and recycling in those bins.
Yep.
So yeah, it's quite a big issue, and they have asked for those bins to be moved, but staff have said, well, not at this stage, but staff are looking at the bigger picture of where rubbish bins go.
We were going to get a container, or we had a container for recycling at one point. That can, the actual big container that was parked over behind Nola and Graham's place. It was very noisy. Glass. Has that gone? Has that disappeared? It was going to
That
go
was
to
years ago,
Tara.
wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but it was gonna
Yeah,
go to Tara.
sorry, that was removed because it got filled up with human feces and
Uh-huh.
other disgusting things. So unfortunately, yeah, that's why that's gone.
Okay, that didn't work. Okay, back to the drawing board. Well, we do have rubbish problems at this time of year. I think Doc managed it very well by the Totara-Nui. I think it's worked pretty good. Is there much rubbish on the roads between Totara-Nui and the recycle centre? I doubt it somehow. I don't see much. So somehow people are being educated slowly.
Maybe we could put a little bit in our newsline half page, whatever we're gonna call that. It could be one of our little things to say, these bins are for general public, not for domestic rubbish disposal.
And
I guess
especially
people
targeted,
are inclined to do it, but anyway.
I think
That
especially
was
targeted around Christmas time, perhaps. For that owners and thatch people. Right. Horses at Puponga. Okay, have we all read this? And are there some ideas around this issue, which is obviously an issue for people using the small piece of beach at Puponga? And it is only small. Have we all been out there? Do we all know where we're talking about at Puponga and that little bit of beach?
Sometimes beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm aware this is a historical issue because it was brought to my attention you're nodding, you know about it too.
Yeah.
It's been on the go for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to know what the consent for the horse tracks as to where they're allowed to go. Because my understanding is that they're not supposed to be dropping down onto the beach. They're supposed to stay on the road, but I don't know. That would be my take on it, would be to ask for are there any rules around?
Is that a dock concession?
Yeah.
If I could just pick that up.
Yeah.
So the department have advised that, they've got concessions when it's on department's land. And what they're saying is that when it arrives on the foreshore, that's an area controlled by the council. And they don't have any guidance or role to play. So they've passed it over completely to the council to say, well, when the horses on our, that we've given concessions to arrive on the foreshore, then it's a matter for council to consider. So we've done that, and we don't have any rules that apply to that situation.
Oh,
What we've also weighted up and said, well, look, there's a lot of, when you're dealing with the wild, there's a lot of animals that are using the environment to live, fish, seabirds and the likes. And adding horses to the mix doesn't really add a great deal to that load.
well, I had understood that are there no conditions around a consent? Do they have a consent?
No.
Don't need one,
To do anything?
No,
just a concession.
they're just popping off
Just
the
the concession.
off the concession land that is administered by DOC onto the foreshore. We don't have any requirements of people taking horses on the beach.
So they can go where they like, basically.
I thought the concession would state where they go, but that probably just relates to dock land.
Yes, it does.
But if it does, I think the concession's due, isn't it? I understand from the person I heard from that dock concession is due for renewal. So it's sort of, I think, and there have been discussions, I think, with the residents, with the business owner. And in the past, when the other folk owned it, it was, you know, just sort of working things out there. So part of it's about relationship, I think, in that community, and people are a bit despairing that they've tried to get some traction. And the idea of the horses coming along that little beach, and it's kids playing there, and you've got novice people on big horses. And so I guess it's for the board to consider whether we think we have any role in trying to get something achieved with that business, or whether it's a dock matter. And it's all well and good for the dock to issue a concession and say, well, that bit doesn't worry us, and then to not worry about what the horses are doing, because they're actually giving approval for that business to operate in that way.
That's a bit of a grey area, isn't it, really? We don't have any jurisdiction.
Well, our
We do.
plan rules, to talk about damage to, the biota. So that's not breached with horses.
Right.
So at that point, it doesn't actually then fall into a, you know, matter that requires consent. That's the plan.
So has there been discussions, you know, between the community, the parties? Are they, is there like a sort of, they meet, sounds like a stalemate and they're not?
I think they've made an attempt to speak with business owners about that, and it's I could look back at my previous emails to see, but I think that hasn't resolved things, and the residents and batch owners are getting really annoyed about it. Horse poo there, they poo along that whole beach, and there are people swimming and poo's floating and tide comes in.
Was, I mean, could they not designate like a laneway that they'll just use one, like, you know, I mean, it seems like it could be some middle ground, you know, or just one end of the beach, like, you know.
You got to mediate.
I'm not sure what, yeah, we would, like, what would our role in resolving this be?
It's a tiny beach, and
Yeah.
it's only there, it's only usable at high tide.
Hmm.
So
Right. Yeah.
it's
Maybe-
not usable. Yeah,
Having
other than high tide.
I'm not entirely quite clear about the exact route, but do they need to be on the beach? Is there another way through their trek?
Yeah,
I was told there
Road.
used to be another way. They used to do it a different way in the past, and they've changed doing it. They did it on the beach originally, then they went back to this other route, the way not on the beach. Now they've gone back to the beach again.
Well, the other route is the road. That's the only other route, is staying on the road.
Hmm.
I mean, I'd like to do something, but it doesn't seem like they really have a role in this.
well, I've been approached as a ward councillor about it, and I think you have too, perhaps.
No, not this time. I know it's gone to you.
And so people out there have been communicating with Andrew and Doc around it, trying to get a response. One of Andrew's responses, and so this is like March last year, so this has been going on quite a long time for them. So Andrew said at that time, thank you for bringing the concerns for us to consider when we're renewing the concession for the activity. We will be undertaking an assessment of the impacts on the track on public conservation land, gauge the suitability of this portion of the track being used for trekking. At this time, we also consider the impact of native fish disturbance as an issue that needs addressing through our concession process. The Dock Concession Authority only covers the activity on public conservation land. It appears that the main concern you have highlighted is with the use of non-SEL. We don't have authority over that, but TDC are the land managers for this land parcel. And therefore, I think you would be best served to contact the TDC about the issues if you've not done so already. You know, and then so then after the email to me, is this helpful?
Yeah.
Or, that they're wanting to bring this concern to my attention This latest summer has seen them coming inside the channel, across the small beach at Puponga, and the reserve land out the front on the seaside. Our primary concern is with the safety of other recreational users. I noted on a recent trip to Rabbit Island that TDC is well aware of the dangers and beachgoers, as there's a sign erected at the path of the beach at the old domain, warning people about the dangers the horses that use the area of the beach pose. And some people signed a letter from residents out there to council. So this must be a little while ago. And council said pretty much what Kim has said. Like there's no bylaw in place which regulates such behaviour. Minimal impact. And it suggests that you seek to engage with a horse treatment company about your concerns. What else am I doing?
Can we look at signs then? Would that, do you think that would help this impact? I mean, was it just kind of?
When I hear what's saying coming in terms of the impact on the biota, but we do have to have regard to wellbeing as a council, and you know, to me, it's actually quite, I think it's quite in your face what they're doing. The horse treaters, they really are interfering with people's enjoyment of the beach, which is at only a limited time because it's at high tide. But I'm assuming that the horses would go on that beach at low tide as well. And one thing we could do is to say, well, when it's high tide and people on the beach being there to swim, that you don't go there. I mean, it's just an option to try and.
Would that have to go through regulatory and?
I think that was what Adrian's indicating, but the discussion ought to take place from those who purport to represent the people there. Because I don't think it's established what voice we're actually hearing with some individuals. So Adrian was hard convinced that it was a community view that was being heard, but suggesting that the persons who are concerned connect with the people who are providing the service and have a direct discussion. You know, only if that was unable to resolve it, would you start considering how you might want to counsel them.
And it sounds like they have.
I'm not so sure of that. I mean, historically, I think there's a tension between the concession holders and, well, I guess, well, they're ratepayers, but not residents.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go, I'd be careful about that.
Yeah, but that's just what I'm
So
hearing.
some of the people so some of the people who are contacting me about it spend probably half the year
Right.
in their batch,
Yeah.
if not more.
Right.
So I think we've got to be careful about people are ratepayers or not, or if that's, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the other points Adrian made was that we don't have any controls in place as council about horses on beaches. But I think there had been some meeting and some resolution and things improved, and then now they haven't. And I think those folk that are annoyed about it and don't like it, you know, sort of like even pretty sick of it.
Abby? You got your.
I was just wondering if there is, that doesn't seem like it's a space for community board to be able to make any decisions, or I'm just wondering if it would be appropriate for perhaps one of us to approach all the parties involved and offer a mediation. I apart from that, I can't really see the discussion going anywhere else.
Does seem a little bit like that. Is it our role to do that? And who would want to
Well,
do it?
you could argue yes. I mean, I'm happy. Perhaps I could have a chat to Chris or Celia, who both seem to have a lot of knowledge about it, and I could go from there maybe. I don't know.
I'm just wondering if it would be worth talking to Gail, the previous owner, as to whether or not she would have any insights.
Mm.
Would you want to follow that up, Abby?
Yep, sure. I'm happy to do that.
Yep. So having a discussion outside of the meeting with Billy and Chris, get some good information and maybe talk to Gail and
Yep,
then
absolutely.
see if we can go further with it.
And I'll just report back as to what direction we took or how it worked out if people are happy with that.
Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because we're just going to go around in circles, I think, and that's, I think there's been enough discussion about it. Just now, I think we can move forward with at least a plan. Congratulations to the AMP. Item 14. Congratulations to the AMP committee for the very successful 125th show. And it was a great day out. Wonderful to see the grandstand being used again. And thanks to everybody involved in working to get her opened again. And I thought what Noel said actually. Social harmony, supporting the grandstand, so the social harmony and friendships restored. I thought those two, that little phrase was quite appropriate.
And probably the sooner we all stop talking about it, I don't mean here, but
Yeah.
just keep bringing it up. It gets brought up still, like the paint's long dry. That'll lead to social cohesion as well, I think.
Yep, I think so.
I'm looking forward to when there are no further commentaries about the process.
To be honest,
So,
is there any point of having further commentaries? I've heard very little about it, so matter closed. Take it off all lists and we'll move on. Community workshop. We got together and had a workshop on media, and we came up with some good plans of how to move forward. Bringing in the youth. I just want to go. Jess saw this, but connecting and communications with youth was discussed, and if we can have a structured engagement with youth. Abby's going to talk to Youth Council and Community Partnerships Officer Yulia about the best way to achieve this. So just as communications that we put out as council, I think that's a really important part of our role of supporting youth.
Yeah, right on. I know that the youth council, it would be cool to have maybe one of you guys come regularly, not tons, we only have one meeting a month, but like once every 3 months, 4 months, whatever.
Okay, what's your
Something to think about. We haven't started.
Okay, would somebody like to be that person? We put their hand up to be that liaison.
I think that constitutes a hand up.
Well,
Yeah, I think it does.
If we do,
Henry? Yeah, you've got.
Oh, there's two.
I've got skin in the game.
Yeah.
So we move that Henry liaises with the youth council and youth workers and as a liaison to the board. Where appropriate, when appropriate.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess. Stay in touch about it now.
Can we put that on our portfolio as a permanent position for the future? Is that possible? Excellent. I think the rest of it was pretty straightforward. Any other questions about the communications meeting we had? Henry?
There's that resolution about, we approved that, they had $80 Jimmy weekly aid.
Yes, we can approve that. We can.
Is that related
that
to this?
resolution. Now, would you like?
I mean, is that,
It's included in the overall resolution for the chair's report anyway, but okay. Yes,
Sorry, and that is the advertising costs of the agenda going into the GB Weekly. Is that $900 a pop
Annually.
annually?
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? It doesn't say here, but that seems to conclude the chair's report.
Someone needs, someone
Does
needs.
somebody want to move the chair's report?
There are two resolutions not yet said, so somebody
Yeah.
could remove, well, I'll
One
move,
and four.
I'll move
Uh,
that.
two.
One moment.
I'll move that number 1 and number 3 are, I'll move them. Because the others have been done, haven't
Yeah.
they? Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I see
And
it's
the third one for the
No, I think
I've been done.
5.
I'm moving 1 and 3, if we can find a seconder.
We need a 5. Here we go. Nominate board member.
Yeah.
Got
I'll
a 5
second-
now.
I'll second it.
Okay. Abby.
Oh.
Yeah, no, sorry, Henry got there first.
Okay. Okay. All in favour?
I,
Passed.
I,
Right. Thank you.
That was item 5 as well.
Yes, including item 5. Resolution number 5. Where are we? There is no financial report due to the nature of the banking climate. So we move on to the discretionary fund applications, and we have two of them.
so,
Yes.
sorry, through you,
Yeah.
so at the end of the chair's report, there's a board liaison rep report,
Ah,
where we can give verbal
that's my
updates
apologies.
around any issues direct with our community board, but, you know,
Sorry, I missed that.
yeah. Be worth doing, I
Yeah,
think.
definitely. Is there anything with anyone here who was attending the meetings for your portfolios?
I've got one issue to raise, and that is around the museum
Okay,
representation, and that I had understood that the meetings were actually on Sunday, but it seems like that it was the Sunday was actually AGM.
Yep.
So I have communicated with the museum that I'm not going to be available very often on Wednesday afternoon, and I'm just waiting to hear back from as to what they would like to do about that, whether they'd like to have another liaison person.
okay.
Because I understand Grant did that.
So I did it for 6 years.
Yeah.
So I am kind of happy to do it again, but I'm also open to having somebody else if you would like to, resign from that.
Well, I'm
Position or
interested in
sector.
it, but it's just
Yeah.
the practicalities, but I just want to respect the process
Mm.
and that I'm waiting for the chair to respond. That we can informally just see if anyone else is interested. Who is on council.
You interested, Abby? 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. Was it third Wednesday of the month?
sorry, not for me.
I would do it if nobody else wants to. So I've done it for 6 years, so I know it.
Well, we'll see what
Yeah.
reply I get.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Rockpool.
Yeah, well, Rockpool Museum. So I was approached by one of the committee members out there around some issues within the committee. And they had a meeting that I couldn't attend because I was away or something. And so Grant went along. And the issues are ongoing, and there's going to be a meeting again soon, trying to resolve the committee structure, some other issues within there, so probably just good to know there's something's going to rework there.
Yeah, that's fair. The Hara Hall Committee is doing well as well. They have good fundraisers. Hara Hall. The, what do you call it? The twilight market evenings been quite successful over the summer. Quite now, but there might be one more, or maybe not. I haven't decided, but there is still major ongoing stuff with the hall roof, and I think that's something that we need to talk about when we come to the reserves fund future, about how, whether there's money in there to help fund that particular project, because you gotta look after the asset by putting a good roof on it. Otherwise, we're gonna have major problems. We don't know what it's like under there, but it's not looking good at the moment. There's a lot of stains in the in the ceiling, and the tiles are almost falling off, and it needs a paint job. But I think priority is actually getting that roof done. And it's quite a lot. It's about 80,000 or something. So we need to look at the Bahara halls as a fairly urgent item, I believe. Abby.
Grant, are the committee aware that they are in charge of applying for the funding for this? It would only come to community board once that have applied. It goes through Jane and then comes to us for approval. We don't actually decide what to spend the funds on. They have to tell us through Jane, not just you. Sorry, I didn't make that clear.
Yeah, no, they do know that, and they need to actually make that as their priority for. When, can anyone tell us when we do that process with the funds from reserves fund? When does that usually near the end of the year? Okay.
That would come under that, would it?
I think so.
Well, through the chair, these things do go into the long-term plan as well, depending on cost.
Yep.
So it's the cost estimate that's of interest.
It's quite prohibitive for fundraising for that much from the moment, I believe. Yeah. But it needs to be noted. It's a good community asset. Councillor Hill.
I had a couple of others. The triennial Bainham Hall meeting's coming up on the 21st of Feb. It's always a treat to go out there. But I've actually got a long-term plan workshop at that time. So if anyone else is willing to go along and meet, that's all good. And if not, then I'll catch up with Carolyn afterwards about anything that comes out of it in terms of council. Generally, very active committee out there, really well maintained hall, really good relationship with the council. But it is, it is good to hop on with them. I was going to add, as the Rec Park Committee chair, about the men's shed. So we didn't go through public forum matters, I don't think. But I just wanted to say that as the men's shed process, they were asked by Richard to have their proposal into the Rec Park Committee agenda. So it came up as an agenda item at the last meeting, but they didn't get that in. They did present it in public forum, but it didn't count as getting on the agenda. And then they've got some time pressures they feel around funding bodies, and now they've got a way to help. So there's only, I think, quarterly meetings of that committee. So Richard Hollier and I have worked out a way to stay within the process timeframes and consultation things. Anyhow, so the lag wasn't, a result of any of our processes really, but we've expedited things through contacting the committee, and people are happy with what they've received at public forum, and that's then the notice can go in, and then so much.
Right.
So and then the next meeting, things get tipped. So we're doing all we can to try and support them getting their ducks in a row. But
just to pick up that letter writing, perhaps support for them. No, so we talk about that now.
Others in public forum time, we need to go through some of those.
So that's all right. Yeah, the 21st is of this month. What time is that meeting?
10:30.
Okay. Because the community board, a lot of wakers are 4 o'clock. For those who are going.
I can catch up with the Carolyn afterwards. I thought it was anybody keen to hook up to that. Okay, yeah.
Any other?
Just a quick note on the successful removal of a massive old pine tree from Minikaka Hall. So it's a big one overhanging the tennis court, sort of on the driveway there, and that's been, Jack and his team took it out, last week, a couple of weeks ago. And, yeah, just about everyone in Onikaka got a load of firewood, plus loads for the hall. Yeah, so it was a job well done.
Good old man, I too.
Yeah, oh yeah, I chucked a couple of pieces on the fire at Muswin a couple of days ago, just straight off the tree. And
Yeah.
just burned it like a torch, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so much resin in it. Yep. Yeah, so it's a good little bonus for the hall.
Are they generally going out okay out there
Yeah.
as a whole committee and?
Yeah, they, I mean, they're pretty casual, but they, you know, it runs along, ticks along nicely, yeah. Rosie still manages the things. And, yeah. So, plenty of funding to keep themselves afloat, and it's well attended with the church in the Kahurangi church on Sundays.
Okay,
It's busy.
so it's every Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, so how's that for bookings?
Well, it
Can't
means
do
you can't do a whole weekend book. Yes, it's
Same in other places.
a bit of that side, but yeah. Good to have that sort of regular. Yeah.
Good, okay. Any other matters? We had a hui. MKM, I think we all were there. I haven't actually been to a meeting yet, that I've had this year, but, I think the way forward is positive, and I think we'll know a little bit more after their hui on the 26th, about where their strategy goes, strategic planning. So I will just say that is definitely a positive step forward for the board, and I think we've got a good relationship brewing. If not, we have a good relationship with them. And thank you everybody for turning up and being so proactive and so positive with it. And yeah, the future looks bright. That's all we can say at this point. Yeah. So that's the end of the board. Oh, is there any youth issues? Any youth issues I'd like to ask? Yes, you're right.
Any issues?
Well, issues or just stuff to report news, yeah.
As for youth council, we haven't quite started yet, but we're getting new members from representation from Golden Bay and Collingwood, which is cool. Youth Habitat is quite a new system in place where the program gets printed every month in the weekly, which has made our lives easier and everything is better attended at one. Probably noteworthy is that both Holly and I are moving on. If you know anyone who wants to be with it, please encourage them to apply. There will be 2 jobs. So, yeah, but I think this year is going to be much better, given that we're actually allowed to go into Golden Bay High School, where we previously weren't. Start of the last year, we weren't allowed in assemblies. We had minimal, an odd relationship. So this year, we've got the green light to do more, and I think that's where all of our referrals, that's where all of our book, that's where all of the engagement's going to come from. So I think this year's going to be good.
That's a really big thing, being allowed in the high school. And you say at Collingwood?
Oh, Collingwood's been fantastic for stuff. We've been going out there regularly, monthly, yeah, from pretty much the start. Yeah. They've been really good, actually, very high representation on
council, Collingwood did have 3 people. It's supposed to be around. Yeah, pleased with Collingwood.
Questions? Yes.
So this.
Yeah.
In relation to these positions, are they, well, how many hours? Are they out of the position?
So there's a 20-hour and there's a 30-hour. So the 30-hour will come up sooner than the 20. Yeah, 30-hour will be soon, 20-hour a little bit later. But I think it's good to have a greater pool of people to choose from. So anyone who might be interested.
So will you be supported by TDC staff to advertise these positions? And what's your connection with Julia? Or is it completely?
Yeah, so
independent?
this isn't quite under Julia's. The work centre has contracted the youth council role. So the work centre has, and I think it's done what she does. But it would probably be a good idea. I know that advert's gone through the Youth Workers Collective, but it might be a good idea to get it through TDC. A little newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or our own new comms. Abby, are you on the Work Centre Trust? Are you a board rep on the Work Centre?
I don't believe we have one on the work centre. Robert's on the community, Mohua community workers building, but I don't think we have one with the work centre.
Robert?
I can disclose right now, I'm actually the very part-time financial manager. So I have a direct link with them. The arrangement so far until the end of last year was the work centre was running the youth habitat and we organised the youth council because we got the funding from TDC for doing that. But this year the youth habitat is stepping out into its own trust. And dependent on the work centre, but the work centre still handles the whole governance of staff members and all that. So yes, it will be the work centre that is advertising those positions when they become available.
Thank you. Clarification.
Thank you for the clarification.
And so long to see. Jess, is the aircon working? Is the aircon going?
Yeah.
It is, but it's not on low.
You cold or not?
Very hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Are you hot?
Yeah.
Love it? Are you hot?
Yes, I'm trying to get
It
lost.
was quite cold this side,
Mm.
so
Yeah, this is perfect.
it's but
Soft seats.
So yeah, I'm not the rep,
No,
but I just have an involvement with them.
right. Okay.
But you move around.
Do we need a
It's
rep?
actually quite cool there.
Is it?
Don't know why.
Interesting.
We could just turn it up, down.
Do we need a rep? Or would they? Because we don't really, we do fund obviously through them.
The work sector you talked about.
Yeah,
Just
well,
the down button, Chris.
no. Okay.
Keep,
All right. Going down.
Calls on 25.
All right.
Actually,
All right. Okay. Any more reports from members? That was actually a very good sort of report back, actually, but we have had since December too, so it's been a couple of months. Yeah. Okay. Now we move on to the discretionary fund, and we have 2 applications. The first one is Community Arts and Circus Trust. They're asking for $1,000 to buy a circus work. Discussion around this. Abby?
Sorry, there was probably a premature hand raise, but I guess I can go first. I'm aware that Mott Community Board are doing a lot of work around their discretionary funding at the moment. David shared with me his stuff, and we were going to suggest a shared workshop around, and I had a quick conversation with Richard Kirby at the Marae as well, just around it being public money that we are using and having tighter criteria. So that's going to be arranged. So bearing that in mind with when we are handing money out, we also we don't have a lot left. And I know we don't have a rule yet around how many times you can apply in a period or things like that, but I'm feeling at the moment like we've contributed a lot to Claire French's various trusts and organisations over the past 6 months. And I don't know, I mean, I'm happy to be talked around, but at the moment my gut feeling is I feel like we should be holding on to our money for other community groups to have a turn.
Councillor Hill.
Tend to agree, Abby. I think I just feel a little uneasy that the bulk of the funding, well, I don't know, so when I look at the budget, the bulk of quite a lot of the money that's being applied for in that budget is actually for employment, essentially. So when we've got one person running a program and a lot of the putia is towards generating work, actually, I don't think that's the right. I think we have some other applications too with this with a similar approach, and I don't think it's the right thing for the discretionary fund. And it might be helpful, maybe if Abby is chair, to have a chat with, I don't know, if Arts Council, or this is from the Arts and Circus Trust New Zealand, to have a chat with Claire just about the purpose of the fund, and that's not what the purpose of it is, I don't think. So I see it supporting community groups who haven't got two shackles to rub together. But I don't support us funding somebody's employment, essentially. I know that there's income coming in from other sources towards it, but it's just not the right avenue. I think we're on the wrong train.
Hence the workshop with Motueka perhaps, and actually working and nutting this out in a very clear sort of manner of how those rules apply to this funding plan.
And can I add that, you know, others who have been asked for funding include Creative Communities Tasman. That's the right train, I'd say. And some other groups there too, including Sports Tasman, as was confirmed. So I think there will be other avenues, probably a fantastic program, but I think Claire has made a number of applications where the bulk of the money is for her employment in some program, and it's not the person's fund.
Yeah, I think the Arts Council is very separate to Claire, and she's just working on behalf of the Arts Council. I think we always need to make very distinctive clarity between those two groups, and it's not always from the application that clear that it's from, because her name of her Arts and it's called Arts and Circus Trust. Yeah, community arts. Again, it's called community arts. So I guess that's a little bit of, yeah.
The applications from Community Arts and Circus Trust New Zealand.
Yeah, but which is Claire French.
Yeah.
It's her business.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be a conversation there, just to support her and understanding that.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that conversation with her. And I'll add I'll add in David's rewrites of their criteria and funding form into the next chair's report for us to review as well, and then we'll get a date sorted. Once everyone's had a chance to feedback, we could perhaps do a joint workshop. We'll see how it works out.
Abby, are we not doing a joint workshop or a meeting with the community board on the March? Is that correct?
Yes.
And can we bring it up at that meeting?
That is good reminding for me. Thank you. Yeah, I could talk to David. He's setting the agenda, so I'll certainly indicate to him that we'd like to discuss that. The only issue is that they might be a little bit further along in the process, but I can certainly ask.
Yeah, it's just nice to have that discussion if nothing else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Councillor Butler.
Yeah, I mean, my concern about this application, it's not coming from the Arts Council. It's coming from the business, essentially. So,
Is it a charitable trust?
It is.
It is.
It's just a charitable trust. I've just confirmed that.
all
So
right.
I just,
Not that we have to have charitable trusts that actually ask for discretionary funding anyway from the individuals in any case. So what does everybody think about this? Can we have an indication of
Well, resolution.
Yeah.
The way to do that is to sum up
Just
what
straight.
the resolution or not.
Yep.
So my inclination is that I'd say no to,
that's enough? Celia?
I'd say no to that and say
Yep.
yes to the writing for the statement. So I was going to move a resolution as B.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. Robert?
yeah, at this stage, I'm thinking about how much we've got left to spend on the fund. And I'm concerned, if it was $1,000, I'm thinking I'm going to say no, unless we're willing to do less than that. I'm considering. Because we hit them in the half, but at this stage, it's a no to $1,000. I'm not proposing an amendment yet.
It's a no from me for the circus at any amount, and a yes to Project Divine.
Writing for disabled.
You tell me we're going Project Divines next month.
Oh shoot, sorry. Hang on, let me go back. 1 moment, please, callers.
Hey, I just have one quick question, which I'm putting out to everybody here. It says hall hire, 8 sessions. Now, which hall is she going to use? And is it one of our halls that we could give her for free as a supplementary kind of offer?
And for the authority to do that.
I don't know.
We've got 4 committees that run in, 4 committees that ran a hall,
Oh, of course.
so we can
Yep.
just get it out of them.
No,
Yeah, we definitely wouldn't have the authority to give them any space for free.
but no, that was just a quick. Celia.
It would be within our, it would be possible for us to pay for something on their project costs, and certainly that's what creative communities do. So creative communities will pick out an item that they are prepared to fund. Say, for example, here, hall hire or poster printing or materials. I'm just putting it out there to say that there is an alternative approach where we can actually fund something which is not this wages problem.
While it is a charitable trust, is that right? I think it's somebody's business. I think it's Claire's business. And that's the thing that doesn't fit in for this fund for me. Not against what she's doing is fantastic. But I think that's the number for me. No.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just jump in too? I have a question around her budget. She's got here for performance, 2 days at $350, discounted from $500. And then she's got performance, 16 sessions at $30 an hour, plus 2 times 200 for performance days. I don't even know what that is. Not, what is that? Is that her money? Is that someone coming into reform? I'm very unclear.
People are getting paid, so whether it's Claire or other people involved,
Right.
are ours at hourly rates for to be paying people. So I'm just, you know,
There's a lot of wages in there that, no, so I'm a no.
There's no income for the people who she's teaching either.
I'd like to move a resolution
Yep.
that unfortunately declines the Circuit Trust application and supports the running of the same education.
Second that. Henry? Okay, all those in favour? Aye.
I
Against? Carried. Yes,
This has been a pleasure, but I am going to go.
it's all right. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
coming to,
Yeah,
See
appreciate
you
it.
next time.
Yes,
and you know about how to get things on the agenda, right? Just contact Abby or Jess.
Yeah, I do. I think I did have email contact, but I don't know.
Something you want board on that.
Yeah. So I just need to say specifically.
Specifically
But-
use the word agenda, because I get pulled in a million different directions.
Oh, mate.
So
okay.
throw the word agenda in there and
I'll
it'll be
put
on.
it in the,
Yeah.
tagline.
Bye, Jess.
Cheers.
okay, 7 point,
Quick break.
sure, if we would
5
like.
minutes.
We're almost there,
Oh,
guys. We are almost
Well, we're
there.
gonna talk about public forum yet, so we haven't done that yet.
No.
That was the.
No, we don't do that now.
Oh,
Do
no,
we? No,
Oh, I think we do.
but not action anything.
Can I just jump in, Grant? Sorry.
Put on
So
zero.
with the public forum discussion, basically, I think what we talked about last time was just saying, right, this is, Abby's going to do this, someone's going to do that, and what, it's not a discussion around it. It's just making sure that we haven't missed anything that will go back to staff.
We can do that at the end, because I was going to move on to 7.3, which is the request for approval of a new street name.
Throw to me on this one.
Yeah, I would actually ask
Yeah.
Mr. Drummond to throw a little bit of insight into this. It's a bit of a surprise, and I don't see quite much in with it.
No, so this is I did raise it a little bit after last week, last meeting, just to check and see how to deal with this. So I was advised that a process for a street name had been completed, and then it was into my space now to make the call. And looking at the information I had available, there was no opposition to that street name, so I effectively gave my endorsement to that. I then did a little bit of digging around to look at the process that's really ought to be followed here, and I saw a couple of missing steps in relation to Mohua applications. One is the consultation step, which had been overlooked, and the second was actually I don't have the right to make a decision when it's in Mohua. It's a matter for the Golden Bay Community Board. So, firstly, my apologies on overstepping the mark here. What I have done is asked the staff to go back and check in with the Motueka also faced the same dilemma. And so they did go back. In relation to the Mohua application, we didn't get any response from Ely. I'm comforted from the fact that they did have the opportunity because they did respond to the Motueka example. So this one seems to have not attracted their interest.
Clarification, could I? So the Motueka one would be people not from Mana Whenua ki Mohua.
No. it's
So
not.
whoever
Well,
responds.
actually, Barney, so and wearing a different slightly hat.
Well,
yes.
so that's a different matter. So I
Yes.
advise that whatever was happening in Motueka
Yeah.
from iwi to
Wouldn't
there,
necessarily connect to him.
not remotely
Okay. Yeah.
related to Mana Whenua ki Mohua whānau, the
Right.
Hokainga responding to this one. So because there's been a response from over the other side to that, there isn't a default that means that because that's other people.
Right.
Some
So,
people float around
okay.
among them or here.
So thanks for that clarification, but the point is that the contact database was actioned and no response was received. and we have been advised from iwi in different forms that the fact that they're not responding to some of our requests, which can be quite demanding across a number of fronts, does not mean they're not interested. It might at that point in time didn't trigger as a priority. So I don't precisely know whether iwi, if they had all the information available, would wish to make a comment on this one, but in this particular case they didn't. So I'm now coming back to the board on the basis that we have retraced the steps around the iwi consultation, and I'm now coming back to the board with a proposition here that you would retrospectively approve the street name.
And it's retrospective because they've been advised, yes.
The people have been advised that the group manager environmental assurance has approved their street name.
And the policy is that Golden Bay Community Board approves
Yes.
street names of Golden Bay.
Yes, yeah. So that's the situation I find myself in this time round. It wasn't immediately obvious to me that there was a process wrapped around street naming the way there obviously is, and now I know a little bit more about context here as well. I can see that that was very much an oversight, and it's being tidied up in the back office. But nevertheless, we have in front of us the one that slipped through the cracks.
We did have a big process in the last two street name.
And I think the knowledge of that may have sat with Dennis as opposed to being completely allocated to the staff.
Right.
Councillor,
Just a clarification, so will there be other street names sought for this subdivision? This is just one of them, so this was something that happened in Liga Bay, wasn't it? Was that some naming and then some other things would be named later? So. Like this is for a right of way in the subdivision.
Yes, being a right of way.
So
sure, yeah.
I just wondered if we knew of any other naming around that subdivision. It looks like.
I don't hold that.
Internally, they would surely, with all those lots, internally there'd be something called something down the middle there. wouldn't
Well, you'd expect there's more to come.
I'm a bit confused because it's a right of way. So it's private land, it's not a road. Well, I can't understand why we're agreeing to the name of the right of way rather than road. That's not a council road, that's a private land road.
I think it still catches us. I think we've still
Does
got the authority because there was one in a similar situation that's in the Luton, which is about the same thing. It's a family wanting to re-establish a right of way because of the historical nature of it. And we've been drawn into that.
yeah, bit like the we call it way in Rangaiana, it's called no, before that.
So this is the right of way that goes through the subdivided blocks.
Is this being made by the applicant who developed the subdivision? Yes.
Yes.
Right of way. And right of ways have names.
Well, they can do, they don't have to.
No,
He's applied for one
Yeah, he
and it's
doesn't.
following, he's asked us to approve it.
and is that part of council's policy is that people can see street names for right of ways?
Yes. I'll double check on that, but that's what I'm led to believe.
I think that's the case with the Tuka roads, upper and lower. Which is a whole can of worms.
Okay, so where do we go with this? Because I'm personally a little bit uncomfortable there. Mana Whenua have had a no-show on any response to this.
Well, that's, if one of them have been approached and not made a response. I mean, I suppose. I don't know what you think, Abby, but I think Abby's going to hand up, she'll have something more sensible to say than me. I was thinking about this as a part of the relationship where, you know, there's a contact made directly. But then we run out of time in terms of.
It's usually a, what do you call it, staff report that comes back to us, so, anyway, Abby.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I mean, they've had the question asked and we haven't had a response whether or not it's been missed, and do we delay by going back to them, or can we move forward? Now, Kim, I'm going to throw to you. What do you think?
My sense is that we could move forward on this one, because even though we asked iwi if they had any comment, the fact they didn't get back to us is pretty typical of the way that the consultation with the council around like consenting issues works. So if we get a response, it's because they've chosen to. If we don't get a response, it's because they've chosen not to. But there's some assumptions tied up in there.
Doesn't mean that they disagree.
No, that's right.
When did we send that response, that question to? When was that sent to?
Well, I was aware of this at the last community board meeting and patched it up in between times, that if we went back to iwi to court and then come here with the outcome one way or another. So it would have been immediately after the last community board meeting.
Sorry, just my question then is they've been, I don't know if they've had a meeting over some since December.
That's up to.
Yeah, I know.
We
They may not have had the opportunity to actually discuss this in meetings.
No.
So.
They might make a meeting.
So my question is when you say iwi, was it Manawhina Ki Mohua that were approached, or did it go to iwi trusts?
Well, iwi trust on the Motueka side, but Manawhina Ki Mohua over here.
Okay, so if that's how if Manawhina what they run, how they run in terms of administration, and someone's getting the emails, and if it's thought that actually, like it would be prioritised and an email went out. So I don't think we can. I don't think we can go down the road. But actually, that's to get a chance. So that's just the structure of how whānau work, and someone's getting the email seeing that that's an item. The name is interesting, isn't it, to read about them thinking about how to come up with the name, and the whole subdivision's based on the world of Norse world, and which is sort of okay, I suppose. That's what someone wants to do. Their subdivision doesn't really relate to New Zealand or that area out there that has real significance in lots of ways to all sorts of people in the community. So that's it's not what I would naturally support happening. It's a bit weird. Not weird to them, but to me.
Yeah. But, Councillor Butler.
Because it's on private land, it's a right of way, then they can just call it this name if they want. So aren't they asking sort of for an endorsement from TDC? But if we said, no, we don't want to endorse this name because it's on private land, there's nothing stopping them putting up a signpost saying the name of the road because it's theirs. Isn't that right?
That's right, but I think having council endorsement adds extra.
Yeah,
I don't know where it
understand
is.
that. I just want to clarify that.
Oh,
So
yes, that's their land. Yeah, that's
They
right.
can,
They can
call this what they like, so they can, even if we just say no, well, it's a right of way, it's private land, so if they want to call it Bifrost, is that how we pronounce it?
Who knows?
Road, they can do that. I'm just thinking of other right of
It's
ways.
private land.
Yeah, it's a right of way. That's private land.
So we're not actually naming a street.
No.
We're not naming a street for council.
No, we're not. We're
But
not.
it gives that council approval, gives
Oh,
it some
Henry knows something
status.
about.
Well, it just in Tukurua, like when you type an address into the New Zealand Post website or it'll come up 21 up Tukurua Road. So that is it's in the, like if they just named it themselves, I'm not sure that it would actually, they couldn't use that as their New Zealand Post like sort of registered address, and suspect that's probably
Yeah,
why
I
they
think
wanted
that's
to.
the extra icing they get from coming through us.
They get, it'll go into the actual database of an address, yeah. I imagine it'd be what you're thinking.
2 points is one is you can actually register it directly with New Zealand Post. It doesn't have to be council approved. Interesting that because I've done it. My wife's done it herself anyway. There's a story there. And yeah, I'm slightly uncomfortable with the assumption that because Mana Whenua haven't replied, we accept that they don't have a response. I would love to see a policy where it's just we acknowledge your email, we have no response. To confirm that, that's just me coming from my background with the disability community, and then we'll make assumptions and then go ahead and find out that they simply missed it. And then suddenly the community board's approving, issuing its approval. Mana Whenua has slipped up and perhaps by my own admission, and it's a situation where that's just me and my personal, but it might work completely different.
Yeah, and we've got these sort of, schedules of meetings that
Yeah.
we have to, we can't. So, the whole thing of the private land and it's a right of way and they can do it anyway and register it anyway, so. Is there no distinction in the policy on road naming? And you'd still seek iwi consultation on someone's private land right of way? It just seems weird. This whole thing seems a little odd as a. I mean, I'm probably gonna vote no or abstain because it's not a council. I'm not that much interested in the board naming things that are on private land, and if they can register their address, all good. So I'll be abstaining, or the process seems a bit strange.
It does seem back to front again, and I'm just going to go back to the history of what we went through with the last one we had to deal with this, and all the other things aside, we went through a process and we made clear of that process, and it was very iwi approval and Mana Whenua approval, and I'm just a little uncomfortable, but like Robert, that we have just because we haven't heard anything from them doesn't mean to say they haven't slipped up over that sort of crazy New Year Christmas period and stuff. So
I think that, so you've got the council process happening over the hill around road naming policy, but actually what we would do in a good relationship with the NKM is that we haven't heard anything 3 weeks ago. Our chair or one of us could ring and say, look, we've got this coming on the agenda, haven't heard anything. That's a sort of a bit of a no surprises thing. So that's something that comes into the relationship thing alongside the policy process. So that might be something for next time.
yeah, I don't think, I can vote yes.
I've also got a concern about the outstanding natural landscapes and whether or not this is actually, I'm assuming that the consent process made sure it wasn't a proposed outstanding natural landscape. That was.
Yeah, so the consent process is all tickety boo.
Yeah.
The road to catch in the middle of it all is putting its hand up for a no.
Yeah, I'm not very keen to support this.
What would it take then if you were to vote no? Where would that leave leave the applicant?
Yes, let's go back to
Well,
NKM.
Robert, they can register their own address.
Yeah, they can, if they're saying it's a private land, they can call it what they like, then they can. And they can register it with whoever they register it with. But there might be, the numbers might be, yes, I just saw a chat message from Abby that Jess might have captured more related to a goat right in the deck.
Yeah, she's
And she had a shootout.
one of the guys has just escaped from outside.
Sorry, yes, one of my goats just turned up on the deck, so I ducked away for a second. Sorry, everybody.
What are you thinking about this, Abby?
Yeah,
I think that we're in a lucky position where he can go ahead and just name it at this time, and we can approach Mana Whenua once we hear back from them, then he can put it back through council. So we're not really inconveniencing him at all. So it's quite a good situation, actually.
It's definitely a right of way and not a road, right?
Well, we know that it's a right of way. What we don't know is whether precisely the policy, what the applicant's options are if the community board declines
At this stage.
at this
we'll
point
come
in the
back.
process.
We'll come back.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we
Yeah,
make
okay.
that motion that we,
So there's two things that are in your minds, aren't they?
Yeah.
One is it's a right of way. Why have you got a role notice at all?
Yes.
And secondly, what really was the views of Manawhenua Kimohua,
yeah.
rather than because it's rather than hot off the back of just
Yeah,
re-establish
no,
relationship. Yeah, last thing you want to do is run an assumption where the first port of call you run over top of it.
And we're doing something retrospectively, so that doesn't help either.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, so can we, is there a motion that we just kind of, do you write some of that down? Fill that down, yes?
Oh, all of it.
Oh, you're brilliant.
Can hear you, Abby.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, I was on mute.
Is that your goat whispering?
No, that's my child.
Uh,
right, you had a
Tell them to sort
go,
the goat.
so you ducked away.
Would the resolution say we received a request for approval, blah, blah, and then,
Seeking
and then we're
clarification.
seeking further information from staff in terms of the status of the right of way or something like that.
Yeah, something like that gives me enough, and I've got enough string in there to package it up again.
And status of Manawhenua. Manawhenua's views. Reluctant to go down that road again. For the last time.
I feel like it's a bit of the history that I'm not privy to, but
Yeah, yeah. We'll
I
call
mean,
you in.
on the surface of it, it seems like it's private land. But an interesting name, but not really for us to
Can
get
I,
the final answers of. I mean, you know, they can do what they want, I suppose. But then, yeah, it sounds like it's
They can come back to the station.
yeah.
sorry, can I seek clarification around the wording of the right of way so that I fully understand where we're sitting on that? It's if the right of way is considered as part of the street
Is-
naming
yeah.
policy, or
It is the right way. So
We're seeking clarification about why
clarification, yeah,
we were being asked to approve the name of the right of way in relation to the subdivision application. I don't know.
no, more or less, is it our,
I think that captured it.
yeah,
She's trying to put it in words.
Yes, but I thought what you said captured it, and I'm just seeing further information. Kim might just jot something there. Quite unusual.
Yeah.
Unusual. Yes, but it's-
I don't know, it's right.
you know, again, road naming / right of way naming is hot on the,
Well, yeah. The name is actually part of the reason why I'm like. Yeah. I'll make sure we've got it done. It's not so
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you're right, it could be a road within it, would that be would the council have to, would they probably have to build a road in there?
No, nothing to do with council. They've got to do with it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is then do they have to name that road in there
Council.
through council, if they've got it right away?
We're just double checking
Another right of way.
what role we actually
Oh, we
have.
can lay it out,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the resolution needs to change. We still need to accept the report.
Yep.
But we are not retrospectively approving the name.
you just take that one whole thing out.
So we just received the report.
Yes.
Is that all that's happening?
No, and then we,
Is the two items that we're finding that we're seeking clarification on, are they part of the resolution or are they going to be staff actions to the report that's been accepted with no decision on the name.
The staff actions,
Yeah.
that staff have been asked to follow up on those two things.
Okay,
And the board is not approving the name at this point in time.
But we could have a resolution saying that we received the report and we seek further information
Yes.
around,
That's
or
the,
clarity around,
thank you, Chris. That's
Right away.
exactly what
that's
I
the
needed.
guts of where we want to go.
and I'm happy to move it.
I can second it, I can
One
second
moment,
it.
let me get there.
Weed it out.
Hang on. We're up there. and We're in the middle of my minutes. So,
6, so sort is a past tense.
Thank
We've
you.
done it already. We seek further clarification of it. Right.
with clarification from staff prior to confirming any road name.
In regard to rights of way.
Yeah, it's not sort of any road names, it's that we seek clarification from staff regarding this being a right of way.
Road names and rights of
What's that? Road back, forward, right?
all rights.
Kim, might you, just input on this? Just so we can get it with something quick and sharp, would be great.
Seems with it.
All rights.
I'm going to try my next figure.
Any, confirming any road, any name for a right of way subdivision, don't know that.
Oh,
So
right.
any name, so take away road. For a right of way. Yeah, so it seeks further clarification.
Okay.
Rather than say confirming or maybe considering.
And third point.
Yeah.
So that gives you degrees of freedom.
I still move it.
What about Manawatu? Do we have-
Well,
No, that's contained in there.
They are
Okay.
contained in
Oh,
in
okay,
the comment section above this. I will turn this into a small section.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so there is a staff action, but the actual resolution that the board is passing is that
Yeah, that's good.
section involved. Are we happy with that?
I'm happy with that. Moved by councillor Hill and seconded by board member Hewson. Any further comments? Then I'll put it to vote. All those in favour?
I,
Okay. Passed. There's no nays.
I think whenever somebody says, should we have a quick break? And then others go, well, there's not much left. There's something left now. Seems to happen a lot.
Yeah. Okay, do we quick break then? Do you really, everyone okay to carry on? Yeah, quick break.
I would really appreciate a quick break because then I can return my escapees.
All right. We'll wrap for 11 minutes, 48 seconds from now.
Thank goodness.
What else?
Thanks, Grant.
This is on the-
Mute. Start video.
All right.
Go back.
Welcome back. Hope you're full of sugar. Right. We'll move to the action sheet. Different colours threw me out. We can take tackle Sea Warlock, can't we? Yep.
Well, actually, not quite.
Wow.
Last time you said take it on, but
Yeah.
the situation at the moment is that, yes, everything, the planning is underway, but the issue has arisen as to whether or not council is going to pay for a third of its reserve to be protected. So that, well, you know, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we've got private properties and then there is actually council reserve. And 2/3 of that, pretty sure it's 2/3 of that, has already been protected by rocks and in association with Susie Moncrief's property. But there is 1/3 which is actually not protected by rocks. And the Packewa Residents Association are saying they're not prepared to actually cover that bit. So the latest is that Richard Hollier is awaiting a decision from Richard Kirby from the senior leadership team as to whether or not the, I think it's about 20,000 can be found to actually just pay for the missing bit, like a missing tooth, you know, of the reserve, council's reserve.
Do we need to change? Yeah, yes.
So
that's
that
okay.
I just would like to have that added on as
Yeah.
and the next step in some words.
Councillor Hill.
I think it goes off because the board doesn't have an involvement with it further. The consent's been granted and what's being worked out is an internal ops, engineering, whatever thing. And I just don't see our role in it any further. We were sort of keeping an eye on it, I guess, and wanting to see it progressing. So I just don't know the purpose of keeping it there any further. I think we can get asked to be advised just by email as we have been.
Operations, definitely, I think.
Right.
Abby's got a hand up. She may have a view.
Yeah, oh, Abby.
Yeah, no, sorry, I agree with Chris. The reason it was on our action sheet was Nigel requested us to keep an eye on it and keep sort of informed until they received the consent for the rock wall, and that is done.
I think that is the action. I think that is done. Okay, and if something else comes up later, we might be able to readdress it. Okay, representatives, liaison positions, confirmed with MKN. That's been done, hasn't it?
Yeah, at the meeting.
Yeah, that was done at the meeting. Golden Bay Honours, yeah. That come off. Only hunger weed control. Do we need to just keep an eye on it, or is it's going to come back? Operations now, okay, come off then. Reinstatement of Collingwood meetings. Have we heard anything back, Abby? Jess?
There are, I'm just trying to think of the wording, the information services team are involved in seeking solutions for the connectivity issues that we have when we move off site.
Yep.
So we're just waiting to hear back.
Okay.
Regarding that, if we can activate some kind of remote.
Because I think they've solved that, haven't
That's not.
they? They've
We
communicated.
think we have solved it,
Yeah.
but it's not yet.
Ongoing
It's
just
not
for
yet
now.
confirmed.
Okay, we'll keep it on for next month at least. Bike stands at beaches, I think that's been resolved. That come up. River gravel, we're still waiting for that one, aren't we? Communications workshop, we did it, it's over, let's move on. Discretionary fund, yeah, we got to keep that one on there for now. And Mohua 2042 request staff report, is it?
Yep, I've gone working with my colleague, John Ridd, on getting that. Yep.
Cool. All right. So that's the end of that, and the actions from public forum now. We have to approve the action sheet. Just an action sheet.
There is a resolution.
Is a resolution? Okay. Someone who'd like to
Just feel free to-
receive the action sheet.
I'm happy to do that.
I'll second it. All in favour? Passed. Okay. Now, yes. Public forums. Actions. Noel was, yep, moving on from the grandstand, and thanks to, yep, we've pretty much done that. It's ticked off. I don't think there's any needed action on that. Yep. Andrew Lammerson's Port Terracoe, Hole in the Rock, near misses, considered safety for walking. That's a,
Comment.
yeah,
Thank you. So this has come up at the Port Terracoe Advisory Group meeting, and it's the intention of the port to move the fence back to allow for pedestrians to walk on that space. So it would be really good to have whether or not this community board would be interested in writing to the Port Terracoe and asking for that to be hurried along.
okay.
And also in relation to the lights as well, I'm not sure what's, I mean, I've got notice because I'm the chair of the committee, but of that group. But the lights is an issue, and Port Terracoe are not aware of concerns about the lights, and so it's up to this group, this board, to decide whether we want to actually go to action or inform the staff about the concerns about the lights. So that's what I would like to.
Yeah, I would too. Can we have that as an action?
Yeah, just an action for a couple of.
Yeah.
What was the last bit, sorry?
Oh, to inform the staff member, Nick Chin, about concerns about the lights at Port Terracoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of out on all the time and brightness and lack of shading. So it is a topic that has come up at Port Terracoe advisory group.
Yep.
So the board's letting Nick know that we like some resolution to that, or that we. I mean, the idea that the lights go, I mean, they're pretty bright, aren't they? I mean, they need to be for working on the wharf, but if it's going all the time, even when there's nothing going at the wharf, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it's not.
So I think I'm simply thinking that we need to inform that we have had representations from the public.
Yeah.
Because there's not, otherwise those are not known about.
That's right.
We need to pass that on.
Yeah.
Are we, it's almost like we're not forcing a resolution, but we're informing them and then allowing him to respond back to the board.
Yeah.
But without resolving to do something about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Almost like getting staff to do it, but we're going straight to the board. That's how I see it.
So that they know
Yeah.
there is concern.
Yeah.
Otherwise they don't.
I can put that on my action.
And the writing the letter to, what did we say?
That I can't write.
Paper
on,
has a-
I can't write on the board, but I'm happy to assist someone
Well,
to do that.
It'll go, but if you just go to Nick Chin,
I will inform Nick Chin of
That's-
the. public forum too.
that's sufficient.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul Sangsters, drainage done. Outstanding natural features still waiting a reply from
This is a question,
submissions.
This will be a very simple thing of letting whoever's leading that program at TDC just to give Paul a call. I think we asked for that to happen last year, the other board. But that's a pretty simple thing, I think, that, and maybe just with a little outline of actually this is what's happened through the process. I certainly took offence with his use of language around me trying to talk people into having bits of their land go here or there, which is actually, I'll just choose some words about this. I find it, it's actually insulting, it's condescending and patronising. I just think that's how I go about my business. Now, I don't know how Paul went about his business, but I certainly don't go about mine as a ward councillor, going around talking people into things. So I certainly took offence at his choice of language. And, you know, that panel, that group of people on there were coming over to Bay and meeting with various people, and I was invited to go along should I want to. And my neighbours, not far from me, I went along to that meeting with them until one other, which is my role.
Yeah.
And if it falls on a board day, my priority is board, above board. So, you know,
Well, no, good. I'm pleased you stated that, and I can we though put the slightly going backwards on there? Can we? I don't want this dropped and have him come again. Okay, so can we just put it on the action sheet to make sure that we've got the outstanding natural landscapes.
someone just email them.
Yeah, if someone can do that and CC us in, I'd really appreciate that. I think. Yeah.
This has been raised previously, and my understanding was that Paul had received communication back. And that, so I will search my email because I'm fairly confident I was CC'd into the communication
Okay.
regarding that.
Oh,
from his
great.
initial
Thank you.
request. So
Fantastic. And CC us in too.
that's
please.
what I'm hopefully,
Find it.
I'm not inventing that.
Celia, did you have something on that one?
No, that's a good solution. I was
Yeah.
going to suggest that,
Yeah.
that we go to the staff and see if Stephanie Styles would apply.
And okay, sorry, Chris, did you want anything to cover with what, you're offended?
No, I just think it's,
Just want to make the point.
it's just coming in and hanging on hot, isn't it, about I'm trying to make people do something. How ridiculous.
That's good. Okay, Peter Bromley, we've just discussed the lights there, but the light at Pahara Hall, I guess that goes back to the Pahara Hall Committee to make a note on that.
Steve, back to the committee.
Yeah, put it back to the committee that it needs to be changed. And need to spend a bit of money. Dave Mayles, Mean Shed, letter of support. That's going to be a multi-purpose building. It's pretty exciting, pretty good. So he wants us to write him a letter of support, presumably to Rata Lotteries, etc., for the to help finances. That what
Is there, what was, who are we writing to? What's your-
writing to funding funding
But
bodies.
is he not doing that? Is that the Men's Shed committee group not doing that themselves?
It'll be a
So we-
supporting letter.
We're writing in response to the consultation process. So getting letters of support to the notice that went in the paper seeking any views, support or objections. Because it's reserve land up there.
Yeah.
And the shed's not a reserve purpose
Yeah.
thing. Then a public notification process has to happen. So they're looking for letters of support to go in relating to that consultation, saying, yep, we think it should go there, or what nerve are you thinking about? So the question for the board is, do we write a letter into the consultation process saying we support it on rec land? That's my understanding.
So what is everyone's general feeling on that? Is that a positive? Would somebody like to write that letter? Abby's got your hand up. She's going to write it. Good on you, Abby. Abby? Oh, don't got out again.
Yes, no, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. That's just a general letter of support for the project, as what Chris was saying. So happy
Yeah.
to do that.
Cool, brilliant.
In response to the notice,
Yeah,
the specific
specific
things are there, not generalised.
thank you. And then Forest and Bird, that's great. Well, I mean, it was a presentation. I don't know if we need to, do we need to respond to any of that? Oh, she has asked us a question, hasn't she?
She's asked us a
Oh,
question about
what?
possible locations, but
Yeah,
I don't think we
that's-
need to.
No.
I think that's for people to think about individually. I mean, I've suggested that some of the dock land at Pates Ford could be used, but I think it's just for us to think about individually if we know. And I know that we did say at one point, oh, we could ask reserves for all their bits of reserve, but that's actually quite a lot of work
Yeah.
for staff. And I just think we should think individually back to this. Or contact her privately.
Yeah, but you're right, it's a lot of work to find all that out. Yeah, I still like the written sometimes. Needs trees on it. Nobody's, sorry.
So I'll talk to you about Doc and the Export Reserve, because there's three big paddocks that Doc is yet to plant out.
And that could be a good way of.
Yeah,
market.
yeah, that's right.
I know when I spoke to Millthorpe committee, they were totally unkeen to have any ashes spread from there.
Okay.
Again, it was about a whenua and ashes getting into water and into waterways and stuff. So we've got to be a bit careful about the ashes thing.
I don't think
don't
Forest
think
are
it's-
going to go with ashes.
No,
to be
I would
honest.
hope that's not going to be the case. Because, I think it's too, yeah, ashes. Yeah. Good. Just yeah. Okay, so that's probably comes to the end of that. Now we move into a confidential session.
I'll just got one
Oh,
comment,
at one point.
and that is about our communication with our award committee. And I'd like to feel that we back them up a little bit, so that it's not just all on their plate to communicate with staff. So when we write to the committee, could we copy the staff with Jane, so that they know that it's up from us and that we're doing this, so that it just gives a little bit of support to the
What's this for the?
for the lights, for the lights.
Yeah, okay.
Alteration of getting the lights fixed. Yeah,
Sure.
which could be written better.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm going to go back to that to support that. Yeah. Right, yeah, making sure they have got an application that's through Jane. For that,
Yeah, yeah,
Jane's very aware of it.
yeah, and we don't want them to fall over. We
No.
don't want that committee to fall over.
No, it's got its
They've got a
interesting,
lot on their plate,
yeah, it's got its interesting directions.
and they've got a lot on their
Yeah.
plate.
Yeah, exactly. Repainting it and all sorts, so that's. Okay. Anything else?
the next step is that we need to pass a motion to book and delay.
Yes, I know, I've got that in front of me here.
Yeah.
So, this is the motion is written down, isn't it? No.
Yeah, it's up on the screen.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's what I had.
Um,
Yeah, so, the public be excluded. I'd like to pass the motion that the public be excluded from the following parts, proceedings, meeting, general subject of each matter to be considered while the public is excluded. The reason for passing this resolution in relation to each matter and specific grounds under section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Information Act, Information Meetings Act 1987. The passing of this resolution as follows: a resolution made in reliance on section 48 brackets 1 close brackets A close brackets of the Local Government Official Information Act, Meetings Act in 1987, particular interest protected by the section 6 or section 7 of the Act, which would be prejudiced by the holding of the whole or relevant part of the proceedings of the meeting in public as follows. And I think we can all read the rest of it. And I'd like to put that motion forward. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favour?
I